Seriously? Fuck.
What is happening? We have no show.
Okay, Sondra, we can hear you. Um, is your computer locked up? And the question is, are we live?
Who knows?
Good question.
Yes, excellent question, Peter.
I think, James, maybe let's just take it away.
Should we
These
carry
things
on and
we should
pretend as if we are live and go from there?
I reckon we should. I'll do the intro. That's
That's very good.
My
It's a
singing is
very good
terrible.
intro. That's a delight. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Coffee Shop Conversation Show, a show where nothing ever goes wrong and everything runs smoothly and perfectly and technology never fails and all that jazz. So, on that note, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly delve into the business world. And we cover, as always, some interesting topics for entrepreneurs and how we can help you take your business to the next level. And this week is a very important topic, one we all have to adhere to if we don't want to be caught by the fuzz in it. Navigating the legal labyrinth when you're running a business. And that is a topic where Mr. Rob Murray, I believe, has been telling us and has written a very interesting and extensive article on that he's going to explain to us. And I am James Brown of James Brown Voice, your voiceover with soul, hosting here with, I hope, Ms. Sondra Ray, who will hopefully be coming back if the internet in America isn't, I don't know, melted by the eclipse, however that might work. No, it's over there. And Peter will be co-hosting, I think, in her absence for foreseeable future, possibly. Or am I doing the lot? I don't know. I don't mind, really.
Well, I think I probably will be co-hosting until Sandra makes it back. Just so that
Marvelous.
you know, we are live. That's the part that did go right, and the part
Yes.
that went wrong was obviously the intro, and Sandra's technology just seemed to fail there for a second, which is absolutely fine. It happens to the best of us. Happens to me all the time, but that's a me error, not a tech error, because I'm terrible with tech and I push the wrong buttons. So I think without further ado, I think this is a conversation that we actually want to get into, because if we discuss this now, it saves us headaches later. And I think young entrepreneurs and startup entrepreneurs actually need to pay very close attention, because for any of you seasoned entrepreneurs out there, you will know that doing it the right way is the best way to do it. And let's figure out what the right way is. So, Rob, without any further ado, I would love to have you come into this conversation and just lay it on us.
Thanks, Peter. Rob Murray here, Managing Director of the Accounting Academy and the Legal Academy. Although generally I have legal professionals to advise me in terms of structured things, but yeah, basically just want to go through some considerations for startups, specifically relating to legal considerations. So this is obviously going to be very different depending on the country you're in, but understanding the legal requirements, it's not just about compliance, right? It's about building a solid foundation for your business's future. So, it's like, we're going to go through a little bit of a roadmap just in terms of things to consider. But obviously, you would need to seek some form of professional advice depending on what level you're going to go into this. I'm by no means professionally advising anyone here in the space. But so there's a lot of things to look at in terms of when you're setting up a business legally. So it's obviously business registration. There are various tax obligations that depending on the country you're in, you need to look at how that works. If you work across multiple countries, then you would obviously have more considerations around that space, because that's like cross jurisdiction type of business. So the HR laws or The communication laws will be different country to country, which is also something to consider. But the starting point on the legal journey is obviously choosing the right business structure. Again, going to be a little bit different country to country, but the general rule is you'll have what they call a sole proprietorship, which is kind of not a regulated company. It's just you yourself as a consultant or an individual. And then you'll have partnerships where that business is owned by 2 or more individuals. And in a case like that, there's other things to consider, because now it's not just you by yourself. And then there's obviously, in South Africa, we call it a PTY limited. In other countries, it's called a limited liability company. And that's more of a hybrid structure, where you're looking at protecting people from liabilities in the partnership. Yeah, and then each structure has different implications in terms of like liabilities, tax, the governance of those structures. Like in an example, some structures, you as the owner would be needing to sign surety for certain things, which means if things go south, you as the individual need to pay the money, not the company. And other structures are better structured to protect the individuals from things like that. Because not too long ago we covered the risks in business. That was last week, right? Yeah. So this does tie in to that, and it is a challenging area, but I think the thing that I want to focus on here is, like, obviously conceptually there's things that you can do before venturing down the legal space. So in my experience, it's better to kind of test what you're doing before going down that route, because you can spend a lot of money going down the legal route, getting the company set up, getting all the tax things in line, getting all the governance in line, but you might not yet know that your product or service or what you want to launch is viable, right? So just on that topic, I would suggest one kind of tests their MVP, their minimal viable product, before formalizing the startup. Okay. But that being said, I think you still need your basic, what could be called a founder's agreement. So if it's you by yourself, you still want to put together the basics of the company or how it's going to work, right? So if you're there by yourself, you're 100% shareholder, there's no other partners, it's a very simple process, but it'll be still good to get that structure down. And especially if there's other partners involved, or yourself and someone are starting an idea together, is just to understand how the thing is going to be put together, like in simple terms. But for the MVP, basically, yeah, I would suggest you validate the idea, right? So you get together a version of what you want to do, be it a product or a service. You get some early adopters, some family members, some friends, some networks to look at the product, possibly test the product or services, and then, yeah, basically get that feedback and then see the viability of it. And then once you've sold a few of the things, and then you can obviously start going down the process of the actual legal side, and just very high level wise, that would be obviously registering the company with whatever body looks after company registrations in the country, and then having a look at the types of companies and the best one that suits what you are trying to do, and then looking at tax compliances, and get an idea of what that is going to look like, because there's a lot of administration involved in that process in the beginning. There will be costs depending on what country you are involved in that process. And then, yeah, just looking at basically the regulatory and industry compliance of the organization. And if you're going to scale up, like let's say staff members, so you're going to start your company and within a short period of time, you're going to be recruiting people, then there's considerations there in terms of local employment law. Your company needs employment contracts. There's a lot of remote workers going around now, and depending on where that remote worker is located, there might be some legal implications there. But yeah, so basically, we got to think with the concept of building a legally sound startup. But I think in this forum, we should just chat about kind of testing that minimum viable product before we kind of commit to the process of getting caught up in the legalese, if that makes sense. Okay. Just another disclaimer, not a legal professional, not giving any legal advice here. Peter?
Yeah, actually, I think this is actually brilliant. And I think once I'm done, I'm going to hand back over to Sondra, because they're the professionals. They are the hosts. I like the idea of it's not about having everything legally done. It's about having an understanding of what you require legally. When you don't have an understanding of what you require, you can't exactly build a solid foundation for your business. But before you go start building this intricate, solid infrastructure and all this legal, yes, obviously we want to know, is this product actually worth building a business around? Is the service worth building a business around? Will this even work? Because the last thing you want to do is go and create this whole monstrosity and you can't even provide a service, or you can't actually deliver the product. So I think that's really good advice for startups, especially startups where finances might be tight. But having an understanding of the legal requirements in your space is essential, because if you don't and you continue to grow, your foundation is weak, and the amount of things that can go wrong are endless. You could employ people and your contracts are not in place, and then they're up in arms, but we don't have a contract, and we'll have a verbal agreement, and that doesn't really hold much water when you are employing people. So you want to establish something that is protected, and please don't make the mistake of thinking that protection is just for yourself. If you plan to grow, that protection is for your business, and protecting your business means protecting the people in the business. They are the people that help grow the business. You want to protect them too, and that means contracts that protect them and protect you. So you want to do this the right way, and in order to do it the right way, you have to know what the right way is. So, and like Rob said earlier, from country to country, it will vary. Building it out differently will be used for different spaces. So find out exactly what it is that you need before you go jumping the gun and doing things rather backwards. I would like to bring some people into this conversation. I would like to hand straight back over to Sondra. If Sondra is going to give me the thumbs up to go, yes, please. Okay, that's my thumb.
That's your thumb. That's my thumb.
Awesome, Sondra. I would love to hand straight back
the
to you.
day.
Oh my goodness, the timing of your computer crashing doesn't hurt. I'm just like, I can't even do anything. I'm like, get my phone. Where's my phone? Thank you. I'm glad it went live. It is live streamed, so we are live on YouTube and it's recording. Yay, yay, yay. The joy of having a co-host and a host on the same account at the same time. If one crashes, the other one's there. So little tech advice. So yes, and as I put in the YouTube chat, we are not lawyers. Nobody on the screen is a lawyer. Just as Rob keeps putting that disclaimer out, none of us are lawyers. But we all have some type of business, so we all have dealt with setting up legal things. So I think that's the perspective we're coming from, is our own journey or clients' journeys or so on and so forth. So definitely, I know in the US, United States, there's a small business association, and they do help a lot of people with the legal things and how to set up things and what type to set up because not only is the US different, but every single state is different, every single one. So some are super strict, some are super expensive. So and I know in the US it goes by wherever your legal business address is, that's what runs your legal end. At least in the US, that's how that works. So just those two tidbits because some states in the United States have gotten very cranky about that lately and trying to change that, but so far that's the way it is. So, and I think in the US it's crazy because some people offer these huge packages to set up the legal end where there's so many free resources out there. It's like I told somebody the other day, she's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, uh, break it down. Exactly what are you getting out of that amount? Because I can tell you right now, this is free and this part you can get and all that stuff. So it's crazy. People try to sell them on how they can set them up legally, but do your research and do your homework and compare because there is a lot of free resources. That's like my little 2 cents on that. But I would love to hear other people's experiences or tips, tricks. I don't want to touch myself. Yay, Mr. Levy is back to save the day. Go ahead, Mr. Levy. I missed you.
Thank you, Sondra, James, Peter, Rob, for your wonderful blog and input. Very interesting blog. I think if anybody is listening and live on YouTube or live stream, really read Rob's blog. It's contains a lot of good information. And I must say, I don't think, we have to make the disclaimer that we're not lawyers because we're not giving legal advice. I think we're sharing experiences in how important it is to get legal advice in terms of setting up your business. And I loved what Rob, first of all, I think Rob, you and Peter mentioned about the foundation. And, we've always spoken about entrepreneurs, we're probably all guilty of this, well, I am, is you get an idea and you're really excited about it, you're energized and you want to go run with it. And off we go. And we've forgotten to set that foundation. And then the chances of the structure cracking is probably highly increased. So it's better to take time in the beginning, set the foundation. And in terms of the legal requirements, I think amongst many other things is understand what you want to do with your business. You need to have, it's not just about the products. It's what do you want to do with it? What are you building? Are you building something for yourself? Are you building something that you want to sell later? Are you building something that you might want to scale and bring people in? And, so understand what is the long-term vision of the business, which will help you set up. And I love what Rob said is then test the market. You don't have to go and spend thousands, because it is going to cost you thousands of rands or dollars, depending where you are, or euros, before you've actually tested the market. But just keep it in mind. Have that roadmap. Have the roadmap set out that if your business does take off in the manner in which you expected it to take off, that at least you're prepared and you can consult people, the specialists, the legal advisors, the labor lawyers, the legal side of the accounting that you need to have in place for tax purposes. And you can consult these people before the fact and not after it happens. And I think that's important. So yeah, that's just sort of, and without it, you're really you can get into huge trouble. And having the legal documentation or the legal framework in place is important. And then just if you don't understand, I'm just going to quick experience because I do have to get off just now, but is, I'm not an attorney, but I got into a situation in a business that I was a director in, and I had to get out of it, but I couldn't just step out of it. So I consulted and attorneys. So all I'm saying to people is don't be afraid to make use of good legal advice, because at the end, it actually saved me, and it got me the money that was due to me that people didn't want to pay to me. So, you know, one needs to understand sometimes, we go, but, attorney's expensive. Well, they're not really expensive if you don't use one and you try to go your own route, or you don't use the right legal advice or accounting advice or any advice. Get the right advice, but set those structures up. So, yeah, I think that's it. And when you know where you're going, you'll understand what structures or what framework your entity must be built in, and it can be done, as Rob said, in stages. But I think it's extremely important to know where you're going with it. That's Stephen from Dare to Be.
Thank you, Stephen. Always great to have your input on a tricky subject, and one, of course, that's difficult because we're all in different parts of the world and legal frameworks will vary from country to country. But I think there are certain things that are probably universally applicable, and it's always great to get that input. Lesetja, welcome, sir. Please give us your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown, and greetings to everyone on the panel, especially Mr. Levy. I haven't been seeing you in a long time, but we're good. We're good. So I think what I'm going to say is going to form the basis of what Rob, Mr. Levy, and Peter said. And I mean, every aspect of life is governed by some kind of law. And it doesn't matter which way you go. From birth to death, there are laws in there. And whether you're a doctor or you are an undertaker, there are laws that govern your business. So, well, maybe animals have got their own laws which are unwritten, which will not be able to read, but I think they also have got their own laws. So starting a company has got its own laws too. The different company types. I think we used to have a CC in South Africa, which has been done away with. Sole proprietorship, private company, public company, all those have got different laws that govern them. Their tax laws are different as well. So I think one needs to make sure that you do understand when you open up a company, what type of company are you opening, and what are the laws, the rules and regulations that govern that company type. And of course, as Rob Murray said, it depends on the country where you're operating from. I mean, the product you're manufacturing, you can't just manufacture a product and say, well, I'm going to put in the stores to sell. In South Africa, we've got the SABS that has got to test the product to make sure that it's suitable for use, with the consumers. So it's laws that govern the country. So if you're going to manufacture a product, it's got to be tested. People have got to make sure that it's suitable for use by the consumers. And if it's a service that you want to provide, there are laws there too. I cannot say, as a person that I am, to say, well, I am going to open a legal company. I don't know anything about legal matters. I can't say I'm going to open a health company. I know nothing about health. I think the best I know about health is I need to eat so that I can carry on living. So and even amongst competing companies, there are laws there. And that is why we've got the Competition Commission to govern competition amongst those competing companies. So laws, rules, and regulations are there to govern all of us. Now, for me, they are not there to stop you from operating your business. They are also there, or they can be there to protect you as well. As Mr. Levy mentioned, laws will be there to protect you as well. If you get into trouble, you know the rules of the company, you know what governs your company type. You are able to follow that, and you are able to win a case if you have to be in a case. So how does one get to know all these things? I think we've got Explore ProTech as a lot of experts that can help you through your journey into opening, running, and managing your company. This is Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development specialist.
I love that. I love that, Mr. L. Yes, knowing your resources. Who do you have in your communities? Who do you have in your surrounding area that can help you through this? Because you don't have to be the expert. You just need to know the experts. So, and I also think that two things. One, if you're doing quarterly reviews, then you know that you're up to date on your laws, your regulations, your licenses and stuff, because I have a horror story my brother told me about where he was out $40,000 because he did not renew an insurance. Something got stolen. And so he was out 40K. And so when I started my business, he's like, sis, go get the insurance from the get-go, learn from my mistake. It was a very costly mistake. So definitely when you're doing your quarterly review, make sure you're reviewing that you have your insurance, you have your license. Laws didn't change. Like I said, there's some states in the US, they've changed laws drastically we'll just leave it there. But so make sure you know the current law. Gareth asked a really good question on the YouTube channel. With what Mr. Levy said about being ready for when a company excels as fast as you thought it might, how do you prepare for it when it expands faster than you imagined? So if it's going faster than you thought it was, hint, hint, it's him. Then what do you do? So Peter, come on in. I think that you probably have you've been on both sides of this where it's slow, fast, so fast. How do you keep up legally with when it grows greatly and you're like, oh crud, now what do I do?
Oh, okay. So I think this is probably going to be some of the best advice anybody's ever going to hear. I don't know if you've ever watched the series Friends. Joey, Rachel, the comedy space. It's funny. It's pleasant to watch. And then I think way back in maybe like in the beginning of the 80s, there was a series called The Wonder Years, and the theme song was I Get By With a Little Bit of Help From My Friends. It's a really well-known song, and it couldn't be more true than it being that simple. I get by with a little bit of help from my friends. So as a networking specialist and as somebody that specializes in building networks and communities, I could not have built or gone as slow or as fast as what I needed to without the help of the people that surrounded me. And those people were specialists within their field. So when I have a situation, it's as easy as reaching out to my friend, Nicolene. She's an attorney. Hey, Nicolene, I have a problem with a contract. Please, can you take a look at it? Whereas without that relationship, I would have to go and hire an attorney. They wouldn't understand my space. They don't know who I am. They're just there to speak legalese. It doesn't really help me very much. Even Mr. Levy, in the beginning of our space, leadership in our space, I had to rely on help from my friends. So if you are purely on your own, you don't have any friends. You don't have any friends that have different skill sets. You haven't networked and built that infrastructure of friends strategically around you, then now would be the time to start doing that. Because when things, when things get tough, if you're not surrounded by the right people, you've only got yourself and your own skill set to rely on. And that is dangerous territory, especially for me. Can you imagine me writing a legal document? I'm so dyslexic, the law would get confused. It's just not going to happen. But I have friends for that. I have the right connections for that. If I want to sort out anything in regards to my tax and how things work, Do I do that myself? No, I do not do that myself. I network with people that have those expertise. So I can actually build as fast or as slow as I want to because I have the support system in place. So support, very important. And I think that gives us the ability to go as fast as we want. Literally, if your business is growing faster than what you can handle, well, then the answer is that you should not be handling it on your own. It's really that simple. Going back to the comment I wanted to actually make before Gareth asked his question, and Gareth, I really hope this actually answered your question. Yes, I know your business is doing well because I know these things because you're one of my friends and I have to know, I should know. So in the end, knowledge is power. I think it's the common saying, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. And I think this is something I learned from Mr. Levy was knowledge is actually not power. It's knowledge that you implement, that you actually use. That's power. So if we take a look at the law in regards to how we're building out our spaces and what we need to have in place, unfortunately, ignorance is not an excuse. It just isn't. You go ahead and you do something wrong, you're going to be held accountable by the law that governs that space. That's just how it works. You cannot necessarily turn around and go, well, oh, well, I just didn't know. They will be like, oh, well, that's just too bad. So you don't want to get yourself caught in a space where just because you didn't go and get the knowledge, that it ends up biting you on the rear end. So do yourself a favor, take a read of the blog post. And I think that's kind of the point of the Business Academy Cafe space is we're putting out all this information. We're putting out all these blog posts, and each blog post will have a very particular purpose in a line of succession of what do startups and entrepreneurs need to know? What do we need to know? How can we support these entrepreneurs? How can we best be of service to these entrepreneurs? In my mind, I think entrepreneurship is the way of the future. I don't think that the big corporate spaces are going to bail us out. I think it's up to us. However small your business is, it's up to us to actually do it right. And I think entrepreneurship literally has the power to change economies if we would just actually get together and do it right. Support it, grow it, develop new spaces, new ideas, and do it the right way. And I think that's why I really like this blog post, because it highlights how do we figure out what the right way is? How do we actually do this the right way? And if we don't know, then how do we find the person that can actually tell us and support us in doing it the right way? There are 1,000 things I do not know in my business, but I'm smart enough to surround myself with people that do. So, and we learn at the same time. You know, a couple of years ago, I would not have understood contracts. But having the experience with somebody that's helped me through those space many times, I now have the ability to read through a contract and have a really good understanding of it. So don't just make other people do it for you. Learn at the same time, because ignorance is no excuse. That's something we just don't do. So find out, gain the knowledge, use the knowledge, and then hopefully surround yourself with good people. Peter, over and out.
Thank you, Peter. Interesting. Actually, I just got the fact that you mentioned the Wonder Years in my head still. I don't know why. Just because I absolutely loved that show. Oh God, Sunday evenings at my grand's back in about 1992. That was. I remember that so well. That's epic for bringing that in. And thank you very much for all the legal knowledge as well, and the fact that we can always, of course, find people who are far more qualified than us and to help it out. And we should be doing that, especially with these sort of things, because they are important to check that you are compliant with everything you need to be compliant with. And we've got plenty of hands up again. This is lovely. Rob, back to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to build a bit on what Peter was saying in relation to Gareth's question. There is, if you look at, say, this topic, we previously did the risk topic. Peter did the planning topic, and what we're doing is we're setting what we know and putting them into some kind of framework, right? And once you have these frameworks and you understand them, then and they implemented, then your kind of scaling should automatically happen. Like if you scale fast and you have these frameworks understood and somewhat in place, then any new people coming in, any new clients you're onboarding, they just plug into frameworks basically. And then you can scale something as quickly as you want to scale. And you're not going to be in a boat where you employ a whole bunch of people. You are the one with all the skill, and now you have to impart that skill on all these other people. Where if you've got your kind of risk framework, you've got your legal framework, you've got your client onboarding frameworks, your business plan, So it's yeah, in my view, it's very good, obviously, to seek help where you need help, but that help still needs to come back into the framework of your company. So if you go and get advice, you've got good advice, that's good. But also don't solely rely on that. Get the advice, but then for yourself going forward, put that into whatever your framework is. Okay.
I like that, Rob. So I did that with contracts. Everybody, if I work with you, you work with me. I don't care if it's free, barter, energy, money, bestie, child, everybody has contracts. Only took me one time for that to get burnt on that. And so everybody has contract, and I've had people when I've been in like giveaways and stuff, they're like, wait, you made people sign a contract? I'm like, they need to know what I'm giving them, and they need to know what they're getting in return. And so I, as a business owner, have to protect myself legally. And the US contracts are just, they're super solid, and that's about the only thing. Verbal contracts don't do cred in the United States. Everything is written. So yeah, even when I hired my child, who in the US that's legal, there was a contract. So yeah, know what is going to legally stand if you do have to go to court, or like Mr. Levy said, he had to fight for some money, because yeah, every place is different, but in the US, pretty much written over verbal is going to win every time versus a verbal contract. So I just do them. I'm like, well, if you want to work with me, that's just part of it. And I've had people squawk. And then when I work with clients, if I help them get subcontractors, I'm the same. You gotta sign a contract. So, and even if you're already working with them, if you're doing a new project or a new adventure with them, still get the contract, even though you have a relationship with them, and it has nothing to do with trusting them. It has to do with being legal. Because me and a person the other day just got going too fast. I was like, wait, we don't have a contract for this. Hold up. And we both were like, oh my gosh, we usually don't have that issue, but we were just rolling from one thing to another. You can do sub-agreements and everything like that. But yeah, contracts are extremely important. Not only protect yourself, but protect your clients, so they know what they can get from you legally. So Mikey, come on in. We were talking about just the legal aspects of business and how you can make sure, we're all saying we're not experts because nobody's a lawyer, but just like how that's worked out for you, or any tips and tricks you've learned along the way, so on and so forth.
Hi, yes, I just want to reiterate or emphasize the importance of legal advice and guidance. And I think one very interesting story that many can relate to is the famous McDonald's company and corporation, where the founder was initially, when McDonald's, you could argue at that time, was a startup. I think, yeah, it's fair to say it was a startup. During its startup phase, they weren't seeing the revenue that they were expecting and hoping, because the business model was, I wouldn't say flawed, but just wasn't ideal for them to make money, and it was based on the sale of the burgers and fast food and the like. Lo and behold, it was a lawyer that actually advised the company to revisit or relook at their entire business model and base it on real estate or property, and such that the branches were paying rent to the founders. And that actually is what empowered McDonald's to become the global conglomerate, or what you want, a multinational that they are. It's from earnings generated through rental income from the actual franchisees, rather than basing their business model just purely on burger sales as such. And it was a lawyer that gave them that advice to pivot their entire business model and structure, which made them profitable and grow. In fact, at the time, the founders were, the one founder was like nearing liquidation and the like. So McDonald's, if they didn't come across a lawyer who gave them that good advice, the entire company may have fizzled, and we may not have known. But okay, so that's just one of the stories, and emphasizing the importance of legal advice. But on the other side, I like to be a bit candid. In South Africa, in the South African context, we also need to be very wary and cautioned on legal advice per se. And I say this in terms of policies, and you get companies that offer insurance policies to provide you legal support and the like. And what happens is sometimes you do take up these policies, but the benefit that you reap from the premiums you pay doesn't quite work in your favor, and over a long period of time, you could have or can potentially end up having paid quite a lot of money towards legal support from these companies that offer it on a monthly subscription type of service. And and then when the cases are serious or get heavy, they look for excuses not to be able to support you further, or refer you to a professional legal expert who's going to charge you anyway. So, South Africa has quite some history that's questionable, and it's kind of like why we have institutes like the Ombudsman that comes into play to make sure that sometimes legal issues needs to be fairly dealt with. And on the staffing side, that's why we have CCMA, because sometimes contracts between employees and employers can be dubious, and then you actually need an entire independent third party that governs and has final say in ruling. So just a tip to entrepreneurs. Look, again, I'm speaking in a South African context. I'm not sure for other countries, but just be wary sometimes when you looking for the cheap way of getting legal support. Sometimes that could in itself become more costly for you. So yeah, that's Mikey. Is it tonight? Before I forget, yes, okay. So it's Mikey from Clinicon, your clinical consultants. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mikey. It's good to hear from you. And keeping coming thick and fast, because we are almost out the hour, as these things do tend to go much quicker than you would expect. Peter, back to you.
Yeah, I think just based on what Mikey said, I think I've managed to circumnavigate that whole space of legal in South Africa purely by actually building a relationship with an attorney, because that attorney functions through my space, and through that relationship, I know that if I go to this attorney and I go, this seems to be my problem, then if the advice that is given is beneficial to me, then it's beneficial to herself at the same time. So sometimes you just have to be very smart about how you're building relationships and who you're building relationships with. I know not everybody can just go out and go, oh, I'm going to network and build a relationship with an attorney. I know that's just it's not easy to just go and do, but there are hundreds of networks out there. And within those networks, there are attorneys. You might want to find out what networks those are and hang around in those spaces and build the relevant relationships. I think it's very important. And aside from the fact that yes, in different countries it will be different legal requirements. I understand that. The world is one big space at the moment. And I know that even attorneys from South Africa now are finding ways to integrate what they've learned into international law. So make friends with the right people. This is something that you definitely should be doing. If it's something that you're battling with, then, I mean, obviously you can come and visit Explore ProTech. And then if you want to get the information that you need, well, I mean, Sondra, I mean, we can put the link for the newsletter or the sign up to the newsletter for the Business Academy Cafe in this space. Sign up for the newsletter. Listen to what's coming out next. What conversation are we going to be talking about? What's going to be the next topic on the show? What's the next blog post? What experts are in that space that we can have access to? What products do they have in that space? Do those products benefit me and my business? How do I grow? These are things that we want to know. And I'll go right back to ignorance is not an excuse. If there's something that you need to know, go and find it and learn it. And then don't just learn it, implement it, because just knowing doesn't help you. And I think it was Rob that said before, actually implement it, put it into your business plan. Help the knowledge needs to be part of growing that business plan. So, and I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that space that avoids what we had to go through. And I know, like Rob, I think most of us in this space have had to battle through building things on our own. We've had to do that. We've had to try and understand the legal. We've had to try and understand the tax laws. We've had to try and understand and how does this fit and how does it work and how do we put contracts in place? And, there's all these unanswered things that we have to learn in order to grow. Well, creating the Business Academy Cafe is how do we put all of that into one space so that others can learn from one place? They can have access to the people that they need from one place. So, yeah, it's a pleasure. I think grab the link, sign up to the newsletter, see what we've got coming out next. We're doing some exciting things both in Explore ProTech and in the Business Academy Cafe and in the educational space. And I just want to give a bit of a shout out to Mancosa's legal department. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. They drafted a document on our behalf, which is absolutely fantastic. So big ups to them. And don't be shy. Reach out. Have a conversation. I'll even drop my booking link into this a booking link that actually works. It was broken recently. And let's have a conversation. If you feel that this is a space for you, then reach out. Let's talk.
I love that. I love that, Peter. Yes, and yes, the booking link works now. Thank you. Yes, I think, and then also, one of the reasons, beat the dead horse, but like doing the quarterly review, I do talk about looking at your resources and your communities and where are you in the right place at the right space. But also knowing, did your lawyer change or did things change in their space? And maybe, that relationship needs to change, or maybe you need to go get a new relationship because the resources aren't there anymore. Is really important because people's businesses change or whatever. And law is changing rapidly. So if you don't have somebody that's still following that, then your resource might not be the best resource anymore. And it's not a personal thing. It's they're doing whatever and you're doing whatever. And maybe you talked to them 6 months ago and you go back for an update or something, and they'll be like, I haven't done that in 90 days. And you're like, oh, crud. Now I got to go build another relationship with somebody, or who do I know that knows of somebody or somebody. So definitely keeping updated with knowing what your resources are and who you have in your communities is extremely important. Mr. L, come on in.
Yes, I just want to mention this. In whatever you do in your company, the laws of the company, whatever policies that govern your company, you don't just let it be dealt with by somebody. Let them give you the basic knowledge of that so that you are aware of whatever is going to happen or whatever is happening. Unlike just saying, well, I've got a lawyer, I'll give this portion to my lawyer to deal with it without you having knowledge of what's happening. I mean, I can also even mention accountants, and Rob, this not to you, but if you don't want to lose your money, you don't just leave everything to your bank account to your accountant and say, well, they'll sort it out, they'll pay everybody. And no, you don't do that. You need to have a basic knowledge of whatever is happening within all those different aspects of your company. And Peter, you mentioned something like make friends with the right people. I made friends with Gareth, who actually designed my logo. How's that? I mean, that's just being friends with people that are helpful. And Gareth is, of course, part of Explore ProTech, and that's just people that are out there to help you with whatever you're struggling with. I think my previous logo that I designed myself was looking horrible for him. He couldn't face it. He couldn't just, it was causing him eyesore. So he like, I'll just create you one. And here we go. Thank you so much, Gareth. I just want to give you a shout out as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think, have we got any more before we wrap up, Sondra? I think we're almost all good. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating today. A little bit of a stop-start, but I think we got there in the end, and some very, very useful and deep insights, particularly from Rob. Thank you very much, Rob, for your extended contribution today, and from everybody else who's also joined in both here and on the YouTube channel. And so, from once again, I've been James of James Brown Voice, your voiceover with soul, hosting with Miss Sondra Ray, who I think will see us out, or Peter will see us out this evening.
Yeah, okay. But Peter, I have no control, so you will have to actually officially end this, just so you're aware. My name is Sondra. I am the owner of Get It Done Coaching, and I help you reach your goals by helping you create bite-sized action plans, and then accountability, which are 75% more likely to get things done if you have accountability. No, it makes sense, Mr. L, because Gareth's like, I like his new background or his new logo. Duh, because he did it. So funny. A couple of shout outs. Miss Somerville, who does the newsletter and helps with social media. Miss Susan, who does the show notes, the cover, also gets us over to Spotify. So please make sure you're following us on Spotify and give us, the ratings. You have to listen to like 2 episodes to do the ratings, which you should. And of course, please share our show. We want to reach all corners of the earth because this information is extremely viable, and we want to help entrepreneurs all over the world. So anything else, Peter? Did I miss anything? I feel like I missed something. No.
No, I think we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute blast, and I won't make Sondra say it. I'll say it myself. From one of our other co-founders, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true. Peace out. Have fun. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
The question,
you got to do live stream too.
I don't have access to that.
Oh,
shoot. We're still live. Dun, 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 dun.
All right, I'm going to go and have Musaka. Have a good
What we
week,
can
everybody.
do is
I was just end the meeting.
end the meeting. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.